Right as I was about to take the final breath of my 70-plus years of life, I forced a smile onto my face and looked at my wife, Lu Xin. After 50 years of marriage, I asked if she had truly loved me for even a single day. Her hesitation gave me all the answers I needed. I glanced at my children in the room. I looked at my grandchildren and our whole family, then slowly whispered my final words. If I ever got a second chance at life, I would never want to meet you again. Saying that, I closed my eyes and my breathing stopped completely. But when I opened them again, I was absolutely stunned. I had somehow traveled back in time, exactly 3 months before my high school board exams. I immediately made up my mind. No matter what happened in this past life regression, I would never get close to Lu Xin. But the very next day, something happened. Something I never could have imagined. Lu Xin actually transferred into my class and stubbornly sat right in the seat next to mine. Without even thinking, I slid my chair away. I just wanted to keep my distance from her, but she suddenly grabbed my collar, flashed a mischievous smile, and whispered, "Chen An, why did you leave so early in our previous life?" I never even got to answer that final question you asked me before you died. Hearing those exact words, my heart practically hammered against my ribs. Could it really be? Had she been reborn into the past too? Maybe my dying wish was so powerful that I actually got a second chance. I felt my young healthy body and stared at the class. I watched my old classmates sitting there, focusing hard on their studies. It finally hit me. This was not a dream. Since fate had handed me a second life, this time I swore I would never get close to Lu Xin again. Back then, her family business was in deep financial trouble, which was why they proposed a marriage alliance to my family. After graduation, I obeyed my parents, took over the family business, and eventually stepped into my father's shoes. Lu Xin was undeniably gorgeous and brilliant. My father was absolutely thrilled with the match, and honestly, I was overjoyed to marry her. But I had no idea she was already in love with somebody else. Her powerful family had violently ripped them apart and forced her to marry me instead. That was exactly why she was utterly miserable our entire marriage. I tried absolutely everything to bring her joy. I catered to her every single need and took care of her perfectly, but in return she never gave me a single genuine smile. That was exactly why, right before I passed away, I asked her if she had loved me for even one day in 50 years. Her brutal silence proved half a century was not enough to change her heart. So in this lifetime, I swore to keep my distance. However, I would not sabotage the business partnership between her family and mine. I already knew that over the next few years the Lu family company would explode in value, and my family would profit immensely from it. A corporate alliance was totally fine, but sacrificing my freedom to marry their daughter was something I absolutely refused to do again. This time I had one clear goal: focus on my education and achieve my unfulfilled dreams. In my past life I completely failed to get admitted into Zhongbin University, which remained my greatest regret. This time I was going to study relentlessly. Plus, armed with 50 years of corporate experience and business knowledge, I was going to fulfill my father's ultimate dream. I would expand our company and take our products entirely global. For those final 3 months before the big exams, I buried myself in textbooks, day and night. My old classmates were completely shocked. One buddy joked with me saying, "What is going on, man? You stopped playing basketball at break, and you do not even sneak out to smoke anymore. Did a ghost possess you or something?" I just laughed and said I actually traveled back from 50 years in the future. Failing to get into a good university back then was my single biggest mistake. So this time, I am fixing it. The friend, sitting right next to me, heard my excuse and just stared at me, completely speechless. About 2 weeks later, my dad called my phone. He told me to hurry home after classes because important guests were arriving. He told me to pick up some nice gifts that a young girl might like. I knew instantly it was the Lu family. In my previous life, when Lu Xin visited, I figured since we were high schoolers, buying her expensive handbags or makeup would just feel weird. After overthinking it, I bought these massive gift bags packed with dolls, action figures, handmade crafts, and pretty trinkets. But Lu Xin barely even glanced at them. Instead, she stared at me with dead eyes and coldly snapped, "If I have to spend my future with a guy like you, my life is going to be incredibly miserable." So this time around, I bought a bunch of huge bags again, except now, I filled them with literal junk for toddlers. Small toy cars, a cheap Barbie doll, a remote-controlled car, and total nonsense. Because in this regression, I was not trying to win her heart. I was here to settle the score. Honestly, those massive bags were practically overflowing with dumb toys meant for a 3-year-old kid. I hauled all that heavy plastic junk across town and finally made it back home. But the second I actually saw Lu Xin sitting there, I froze in my tracks. She looked exactly the same. Ice cold, stunningly beautiful, and incredibly elegant. Her entire presence just radiated this intense royal aura. When my dad saw me walk and carrying all those bags, he subtly winked at me. Pretending he had absolutely no idea, he loudly announced, "Hey son, this is your very first time meeting Xiaowen, and you bought all these presents? You never treat me this well." I didn't even bother giving him a response. I just dragged those enormous bags straight into the living room and carelessly dumped them onto the floor. Cheap plastic toys scattered everywhere. I dusted off my hands, looked right at Lu Jin, and said in a totally flat voice, "Here are your gifts." My dad forced me to buy something. I was rushing, so I grabbed this junk from a random street stall. Otherwise, I might have stopped at a real supermarket for you. The second my dad noticed those literal toddler toys scattered all over the living room rug, his face went completely pale. He angrily grabbed a spatula from the kitchen and stormed right toward me. But I wasn't scared at all. Mentally, I was a 70-year-old man, and my father here was barely pushing 40. Technically speaking, I was decades older than him. I just calmly sat down on the sofa, crossed my legs, and scolded him in the exact same tone I used in my past life. "You are a grown man, but you still act like a complete child. Stop making a scene." My dad, Lu Xin, and her wealthy parents were all completely stunned into silence. After a brief pause, my father let out an awkward cough. He turned red and quickly lied. "Oh, my son and I have a great relationship. We always joke around like this at home. He just thinks of you as family, so he skipped the usual formalities." The Lu family parents forced polite smiles, but Lu Xin kept her face perfectly calm. Her eyebrows, however, were slightly pinched together. In her mind, she fully expected me to eagerly join her powerful family again. But she had no idea that I was not that desperate idiot anymore. I refused to waste another 50 years on a woman who would never love me back. I walked right up to her, looked down, and coldly said, "If you hate my gifts, then forget it. I will just take them back." I leaned down to grab the cheap plastic toys off the floor, but suddenly, she reached out and tightly grabbed my hand. She pulled a Barbie princess doll from the pile of gifts. The very next second, a smile lit up her face. A smile I had never witnessed in my entire previous life. She softly whispered, "Thank you." I was completely stunned. She actually looked at me and smiled. 50 whole years. For 50 long years I knew this woman inside out, but she never gave me a smile like that. Is this really Lu Xin? Did another soul possess her body? Or maybe, could a simple Barbie doll actually touch her heart? I quickly shook my head. Dwelling on this nonsense felt completely pointless. No matter what happens, in this new lifetime, I will have absolutely zero ties to her. I snatched the Barbie princess right out of her hands. Keeping my face totally stone cold, I said, "Sorry, this one is mine. The rest are all for you." Every single person in the room stared at me in total shock. My dad didn't hesitate to say, "Looks like this boy is genuinely sick today." My behavior today was definitely bizarre. I figured my antics would make Lu Jin furious, pushing her away from me forever, but completely destroying my expectations. She just stood there holding those leftover toys, and an incredibly faint but totally genuine smile was resting on her face. I honestly could not wrap my head around it. In our past life, I showered her with millions in gifts, huge diamond jewelry sets, designer luxury bags, and insanely expensive accessories. But she never even offered me two words. Yet today, simple kids' toys made her beam. Was her true passion always just childish toys, or did a deeper secret hide behind this? I just could not figure this girl out. Then dinner finally started. Both of our families kept trying their hardest to push us closer together, but I stayed completely detached the entire time. Lu Xin was not talking much either. Though I already knew someone else owned her heart. A close childhood friend of hers. He was exactly 1 year younger than her. In my previous timeline, I learned that after high school, Lu Xin planned to confess her deep feelings to that exact boy. But my existence violently shattered their love story. So in this lifetime, I genuinely wanted the two of them to unite. My absolute only desire right now was that Lu Xin and I never ever form any kind of relationship again. Before we knew it, the clock struck midnight. As her family of 3 finally headed out, I had not spoken a single word to her. Dad dragged me along to walk them out to the front door. Suddenly, Lu Xin paused and said she probably left her bag on the sofa. Dad glared at me. "Chen An, go grab her bag for her." I reluctantly grabbed her bag, brought outside, and practically shoved it toward her. Lu Xin replied in a dead calm voice, "Thank you." I totally froze in place for a second. She was actually thanking me. This felt like the absolute biggest joke of my entire existence. In my past life, I did absolutely everything for her, but she never once thanked me. And today, just handing over a stupid bag earned me a thank you. I showed zero emotion, keeping a totally blank expression, turned my back, and marched straight to my bedroom. From behind, I heard my dad nervously apologizing to them, claiming, "This boy is just acting a bit weird lately. He was never like this before, so please do not take it personally. I pray this does not mess up our family's marriage arrangement." The next day, I arrived at school normally. First period had barely started when the teacher walked in and announced a brand new student was joining us. Right on cue, the door swung open, and the second I saw the girl walking inside, I was left completely paralyzed. The new transfer student was none other than Lu Xin herself. Our teacher gave everyone a very brief introduction. He smiled brightly, explaining Lu Xin used to attend number 1 high school. Her grades are exceptional. He told her to take a front row seat to focus better. But Lu Xin gently shook her head. Without a single ounce of hesitation, she walked straight toward me. The entire classroom was staring as she stopped, right by my desk. She paused and asked in a super polite tone, "We meet again. Mind if I sit right next to you?" I just stared up at her for a few seconds. I gave no answer. The teacher rushed over instantly and warned her, "Lu-shin, do not sit with Chen An. He is literally the weakest student in this room. Sit with the class monitor instead. He ranks first in the entire school. So you two brilliant kids can help each other." Hearing that insult did not bother me at all, because honestly, in my past life, I really was a terrible student. But Lu Jin completely ignored the teacher's advice. She shot him down politely. "Thank you, sir, but I prefer sitting right here with Chen An. We already know each other." The teacher frowned deeply and glared at me. He warned me in a dead serious voice. "Chen An, do not ruin her focus. Lu Xin has massive potential to be the school topper. Your horrible grades cannot even be compared to hers." I remembered clearly, though, in my previous timeline, Lu Xin actually failed to be the school topper. She ranked third. And the real reason for that failure was me. Because right around then, she discovered her parents arranged her marriage to me. Her precious childhood romance was brutally ripped away. That horrible trauma completely destroyed her academic focus. No wonder our teacher was guarding her like buried treasure. If Lu Xin aced the exams, his own reputation as an educator would skyrocket instantly. His status and fame inside the school would hit totally new heights. But I honestly could not care less about that drama. In this new life, I had only one goal: crush the university entrance exam, major in finance, and fully weaponize 50 years of heavy business experience from my past to drag my family business to incredible new heights. Thinking that, I slammed my hand on the empty chair beside me. In a freezing cold tone, I told her, "We hardly know each other. We literally just met last night. Go find another seat." The entire classroom fell dead silent. Nobody in the room ever expected that I would instantly reject such a gorgeous, top-tier student. After all, she was easily one of the most attractive girls in school. Lu Xin froze for a split second, but then, her face snapped back into that overly familiar expression. That icy calm stare, that stubborn freezing attitude. Without uttering a single word, she dumped her bag on my table. She shoved my hand away and forcefully claimed the chair. Sitting beside her triggered a deeply sickening suffocation in my chest. I stared at this face for 50 years, and now, even a passing glance made my blood boil. I genuinely asked myself how the hell I survived 50 years of marriage with her. I grabbed my textbook and furiously slammed it directly onto the wooden desk. The loud crack made her flinch slightly. I took a heavy breath and snapped, "Fine, sit wherever you want. I honestly do not care. I have no right to stop you anyway." Grabbing my backpack, I swept up my textbooks and marched straight toward the dark classroom corner where the trash cans were hidden. A nasty stench hung in the air from years of rotting garbage. There was one empty desk back there, mostly used for dumping smelly old winter coats. I shoved my gear aside, dropped my bag, grabbed the basketball off the floor, and signaled my crew hanging by the back window. They caught my eye, smirked, and knew exactly what I meant. A second later, we ditched class and headed for the courts. Meanwhile, you and I have all skipped a boring lecture, right? The principal kept droning on, but I had zero interest in morning classes. So I spent hours shooting hoops with my friends. By noon, we had already crushed a bunch of matches. After the final game wrapped, I headed out to buy some cold water when a shadow suddenly blocked my path. I glanced up. It was Lu Jin. Handing me a bottle, she muttered, "This is for you. Stop drinking ice water. Chugging cold water right after sports is terrible for your body." My buddies nearby smirked, exchanging mischievous looks. One of them whistled. "Wow, man, hey Ann, never seen this side of her. You've got serious game." Another guy snickered. "Look at that, she even brought you room temperature water. She really cares about you. Wish someone bought us drinks." I shot them a dark glare. "Shut your mouths. One more word and I'm dunking the ball straight on your ugly heads." Standing at 180 centimeters and playing for the varsity school team, slamming a dunk was incredibly easy for me. Then I turned back to Lu Jin. My expression turned completely icy. Keeping my voice totally flat and distant, I replied, "Thanks, but I prefer cold water." I paused. "Look, Lu Jin, our families have a corporate partnership, sure, but whatever crazy marriage alliance my dad mentioned earlier, just forget it. I already know all about your childhood sweetheart. I know you two are super close and that you genuinely love him. And honestly, I have absolutely zero romantic interest in you either. So let's skip the getting to know you phase. I'll handle things and talk to my dad myself. This little arrangement won't damage either of our family's business deals. It's truly the best move for us both." I shoved the bottle back toward her, grabbed my basketball, and walked away without throwing a single glance backward. Getting tangled up, suffering, and dying full of regrets like my past life, never again. Drawing a hard line right now was essential. My house was only a 20-minute walk from the high school campus, so I usually headed home during lunch break to grab food and just chill out for a bit. I hit the bus stop and was stepping on when rapid footsteps rushed up behind me. I spun around. Lu Xin was sprinting right at me, her face completely flushed with wild emotion. She slammed to a halt right in front of me and snatched my wrist tight. I figured she was furious, because I had just rejected her stupid water bottle. She acted exactly like this in my previous life too. From our wedding day until I turned 70. She threw a massive fit anytime I disagreed with her or stepped out of line. But guess what? In this new life, she wasn't my wife, my girlfriend, or anybody I needed to constantly bow down to. I tried to rip my arm away, but the craziest thing happened. Her grip suddenly clamped down like iron. Before I could blink, she shoved me against the bus stop wall, planting both hands firmly on my shoulders. Leaning in with this crazy possessive energy, she hissed. Chen An, do you really think you're the only one who rebirthed? If you keep treating me like garbage, maybe I should go tell your father exactly how terribly you treat your future wife. The second those words left her mouth, my brain just short-circuited. Stick with me here, because my whole reality froze. 1,000 wild thoughts smashed into each other all at once. Finally, I caught my breath. Lu Xin reincarnated too. Seeing me silent, she continued, Chen An, I'm your wife. In our past life, we spent 50 years together, and you never once raised your voice at me. But in this timeline, from yesterday morning up until right now, you've snapped at me so many times. Tears welled up in her eyes, her face screaming pure betrayal. I narrowed my eyes. It was undeniable now. She had definitely traveled back through time too. But her clingy behavior since yesterday made absolutely zero sense. This girl was nothing like the Lu Xin I knew. The woman who spent our entire marriage acting like a block of solid ice. Honestly, the original Lu Xin was a ruthless corporate queen. Even in old age, she controlled the entire estate. Everyone literally called her the Ice Madam. Her power in the business world eclipsed mine entirely. No matter how badly she suffered, she never once complained to anyone, and she certainly never showed an ounce of weakness to me. Yet, here she was, on the verge of sobbing. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I refused to overthink the situation. Since both of us had somehow hit the reset button on our lives, we were better off just fixing our own past regrets separately. In that last timeline, her family tore her away from her childhood sweetheart. They forced her into a miserable arranged marriage with me, ruining her happiness. Meanwhile, I ended up trapped with a wife who despised me. And my dad? He literally worked himself into an early grave trying to carry our struggling company. He passed away completely exhausted. Maybe we were brought back so we could write a different ending to our tragic stories. After all, my destiny last time was dying filled with bitter resentment, never managing to honor my father's final dying wish. He had this massive, beautiful dream that he protected his entire life, pushing our startup's products out to the entire globe, transforming us into a massive international brand. That failure haunted my soul forever. I stared deeply into Lu Xin's eyes, my voice dead serious. Lu Xin, since you've also come back through rebirth, this is actually perfect. I promise in this lifetime I won't ever stand between you and your childhood crush. You absolutely do not need to fake any affection for me just to secure a business merger between our families. You spent decades married into my family before. You already know exactly how my dad and I operate. We don't play those dirty games. Plus, you literally became a billionaire corporate queen last time. Your skills alone guarantee you can reach the top again, completely without my family's backing. I paused, taking a long, shaky breath. Letting go of a woman I fiercely loved for 50 straight years wasn't easy. You and I both know how deep old scars go. My chest physically ached. But remembering the cold despair I died with last time, I knew I could never love her again. I turned it on my heel, ready to walk away, when a screaming, custom flame-decaled motorcycle. Yesterday, the biker pulled up right in front of us. Slipping off his sunglasses, he smirked at Lu Xin and said, I came to get you. But why did you school? Honestly, it takes me an extra half hour every single day to come pick you up now. I instantly recognized the guy talking to her. It was Wang Jiteng, Lu Xin's childhood friend, her very first love. His dad's electronics factory used to be incredibly successful back in the day, but eventually, the business suffered a massive financial hit. The factory slowly started going under. Still, his family's financial situation was miles better than most ordinary people. Because his father was constantly buried in all those stressful company problems, he paid zero attention to Wang Jiteng. Soon enough, the guy started hanging out with local street gangs. His clothes changed, his entire attitude shifted, and people around town started calling him Flame Boy or Street Rider. But one thing never changed. He always looked out for Lu Xin. He never once dragged her into his own toxic habits. Maybe that is exactly why Lu Xin could never let him go. It did not matter that he had turned into some notorious rebel riding a loud motorcycle. But he never hurt Lu Xin or pushed her down the wrong path. Back then, I didn't really know much about Wang Jiteng at all. And to be totally honest, I had zero interest in getting to know him. I just threw a quick glance his way and walked off without a word. Behind me, I heard Lu Xin stomping her feet. Then her furious voice echoed out, Chen An, you are such an awful person. I stopped walking at the red light, and I do not know why, but unconsciously I turned around to look. I saw that Lu Xin had finally climbed onto Wang Jiteng's motorcycle. In that exact moment, the very last shred of hope in my heart died entirely. In the end, she went right back to the only guy she genuinely loved. I tilted my head and stared up at the sky. The afternoon sun was blazing right above. It was so blindingly bright that tears welled up in my eyes. I laughed bitterly to myself. Maybe the old saying is completely true. Love built up over time, an entire lifetime spent together. Sometimes it really is nothing more than a cruel illusion. I gave her my absolute, all for 50 whole years. But getting reincarnated today made me realize my 50 years meant absolutely nothing against her childhood crush. After getting back home, I took a few days off. I refused to face Lu Jin at school right now. My dad was furious with me, but he could never stay mad for too long. After all, my mother had passed away a long time ago, and I was his only son. Because of that, Dad usually caved in to my stubborn demands. After resting up for a few days, I looked at him. Dad, I want to transfer schools. He stared back, completely stunned. What? The final exams are right around the corner. Why on earth would you transfer now? And what about your fiancée? She left the top high school just to join your class. If you leave this school, what is going to happen to her? I just waved my hand dismissively. Dad, I never actually accepted this arrangement. Like I have told you before, I do not love her, and her heart definitely belongs to someone else. It is not me. You cannot force love. If you still insist on pushing this onto me, I will just go join Mom. Using my late mother's memory always worked like a charm. He instantly gave up. Taking a long, heavy breath, my dad finally looked up and said, "All right, fine. Just calm down. I will find another high school for you." I grinned and placed a gentle hand right on his shoulder. Now that is my amazing dad. Do not worry. After changing schools, your son is getting into a top-tier university. Then I will study finance with everything I have got and come straight back to take over your business. Mom will bless us from heaven, watching her husband and son push our family empire to new heights. Hearing all of this, my dad got so emotional that he pulled me into a tight hug. Tears streamed down his face and he cried for quite a while. But the very next morning, he completely betrayed me. First thing in the morning, Lu Jin showed up right at our house. She threw my bedroom door open without even knocking. I was completely dead to the world, asleep. Suddenly, a blinding light hit my face, waking me instantly. Squinting through sleepy eyes, I watched Lu Jin march straight to the window. She yanked the curtains wide open. Harsh sunlight flooded the entire room. I squinted against the glare and yelled furiously, "Lu Jin, are you completely insane? This is my house. How dare you barge into my bedroom without my permission?" Lu Jin crossed both arms firmly over her chest. Then, in an oddly casual tone, she replied, "I lived here for 50 years. This house is mine too, and so is this room." Her voice sounded exactly the way it did in our previous life together. She casually opened my closet, then pulled out my everyday clothes and my underwear, like it was nothing. Right after that, she ripped my blanket completely off. I always had a habit of sleeping naked, so for a split second, I was totally exposed in front of her. Panicking, I quickly scrambled to grab my clothes and frantically covered myself up. I gritted my teeth, absolutely furious. "Lu Jin, you are crossing a serious line right now." She just smirked. "You always had a habit of sleeping exactly like this before." Boiling with anger, I pointed straight at the door. "Get out, right now." But Lu Jin didn't budge an inch. Smiling confidently, she said, "Why should I leave? For 50 years, I controlled you however I wanted. After reincarnation, do you genuinely think you can escape my grip so easily?" Seeing her smug smile made all my buried resentment explode. I stared back and spoke in a totally dead, cold voice. "In our past life, shortly after our wedding, I figured out that you never actually loved me. You felt absolutely nothing for me in your heart. I even brought up getting a divorce, but you stubbornly refused. You told me that you were tied to me, and we just had to accept it. But in this life, you got a second chance. You do not have to stay with me. So why chase me? Lu Jin, the way you are acting is only suffocating me. Keep this up, and the day will come when I genuinely despise you." The second she heard that, she went completely dead silent. Her face just froze. I stopped looking at her entirely. I quickly threw on my shirt, pulled up my pants, and walked toward the door to leave. But right then, Lu Jin grabbed me fiercely from behind. She wrapped her arms tightly around my back, holding me. Her voice was violently shaking. "Chen An, I am so sorry. Back in our past life, I could never actually answer your question. But in this new life, I finally want to give you that answer." I didn't even give her the chance to finish speaking. I gently peeled her hands away and replied, "There is zero need for that anymore. I got my answer right before I died. I loved you fiercely for 50 long years. I have absolutely zero strength left to do it again. Please, just leave me alone. In this lifetime, let us just be complete strangers who happen to know each other." Is that really so impossible? We are only 18. Our whole future is wide open now. Over time, you will easily forget the guy you never truly loved. You had your deep regrets in our past life, and I had mine. So in this brand new life, let us both fix our own regrets, I said. Lu's eyes turned red. Tears started rolling down her face. She kept shaking her head, whispering, "No. You are my husband. How can you just throw away 50 years together?" A bitter feeling rose in my throat. If I said it did not hurt, I would be lying. But I refused to make the exact same mistake. Twice, I took a deep breath. "Yes, I am leaving." Lu Jin quickly wiped her tears away. Then a strange, stubborn look filled her eyes. She said, I know you do not trust me. In our past life, you took care of me for 50 whole years. So in this life, I will take care of you. But no matter what she promised, trusting her was completely impossible. For me. After all, we had a history. We had both returned from the future. How could she forget Wang Jiteng, the man she truly loved? I headed downstairs to the dining table, where my dad saw us. He lit up with pure joy. Smiling widely, he called out, Come here, my son and daughter-in-law. I prepared a big breakfast for both of you today. I stared hard. My dad quickly looked away, avoiding my eyes. Without saying another word, I grabbed a steamed bun and walked straight outside. Lu Shixin grabbed one too and followed behind me. If I walked faster, she sped up. If I stopped, she stopped right there. If I turned around, she would turn right along with me. Slowly, a deep annoyance started boiling inside me. I seriously began to wonder how I never noticed in our past life that this girl could be so stubborn and incredibly irritating. For 15 straight days, she stuck to me like a shadow. Wherever I went, she showed up. Eventually, the entire school started buzzing with gossip about the two of us. Everyone around us was totally in shock. Nobody could understand why the top student, the girl who ranked first in the entire school, was suddenly chasing a backbench slacker like me. Wild rumors spread fast. People whispered that since I came from a rich family, maybe Lu Xin was just trying to use me for my money.